Don't know if I'm live yet. Oh, okay, there. It takes a little bit of time, doesn't it? There's a little bit of buffering to go live. So I'm in my kitchen and I made homemade soup. Now, I've been doing this for a little over a year. So I about March 2018, I started losing weight, started on a plant-based diet, a little bit of fat, and the fat was either coconut oil or avocado oil. I stayed away from all the vegetable oils, including canola oil. I stayed away from all those. And while the rest of the world, most of everybody else was working, I was looking for work. And while I was looking for work, I started saying, you know what? I can make homemade soup. If my coach can make homemade soup and I watched her, then I can learn how to do it myself. So I'm going to give you what I made today. And I have probably about 2 or 3 days worth. I have that there. And then I have more, and this is perfect for me. Now, I've been doing this for a year, and it took a lot of trial and error because I'm only one person. So it doesn't take a lot of water, and I use actually organic chicken broth in my soup. So I'm going to guess maybe I used about 12 to 16 ounces of chicken broth. I'm going to guess maybe 12 ounces because I think the box is 32 ounces. I did not use the entire box of chicken broth. It's too much. Water. I mixed it with water, maybe 8 ounces of water. So total, I probably had about 32 ounces of liquid, maybe even less than that. I may even had 24 because that's what I do. I'm more of a chef and less of a cook because I don't measure. I just say, does this work? Oh, that didn't work. Let me create something different. Does this work? Oh, I used too much. And over a year or so, I learned you can't use 6 carrots and then, in addition to that, 10 celery sticks. And in addition to that, 3 yams. And in addition to that, 4 little small potatoes. And in addition to that, uh, garlic, not garlic, but ginger. And in addition to that, 30 ounces of liquid. It's too much soup for one person. Oh, and I had to learn. This recipe also puts spinach in it. So I had to learn over the course of 6 months, just making too much. So this soup, I chicken broth, water, no more than 24, maybe 30 ounces of liquid. No more. You don't need a lot. And if you want more to boil your stuff, fine. What I did was I took some of the water out because I knew it would be too much water. So I just drained some of it out. So I had six celery sticks and I cut them up. I had this much ginger, no more. Maybe I may even had cut up a little bit less than this. 2 long, big carrots, 2 big ones, not the baby carrots. I don't use the baby carrots. 2 carrots, 1 yam, and it was a pretty medium-sized yam. It wasn't the big ones. It was just medium-sized yam, and 2 or 3 red potatoes, 2 or 3. And let's see, 1 onion. I believe it was a yellow onion. I cut that up. And what else did I use in it? I think that was it. I put that all in a pan, and it didn't take long. Maybe 30 minutes. Didn't take long because I cut up the yams and the potatoes, and when I cut them up, the slices are pretty thin. When I slice them up, they're maybe half an inch thin, quarter of an inch thin. I don't know how thin they are, but it doesn't take long to boil potatoes or yams when you cut them up into slices. So I put that all in a big pot and cooked it for about 20 or 30 minutes. And I said, hey, is my stuff done? So I didn't set a timer. And I said, oh, yeah, it's done. It was all nice and mushy. And I siphoned some of the water out because I knew it was too much liquid. I knew by looking at it, it was way too much liquid. So I just got maybe 16 ounces, anywhere from 8 to 16 ounces of water out because it was too much. And then I started adding in all the liquid and all my vegetables in a blender. And I have a blender that has blades that go all the way up. And I decided this time that because there was ginger in it and there was onions in it, I was like, nah, I don't need garlic because if I put garlic in it, I put it in at the end. I don't want to boil garlic for 10 or 15 or 30 minutes because you'll boil the garlic away. And I just said, nah, you don't need garlic. And I put it in the blender and I put it on low. And it was perfect. The consistency is perfect. Now, I did add in cinnamon sticks to this particular recipe. I thought with the remaining water and the remaining chicken broth that I had on the bottom, it was not much, maybe 10, 12 ounces of water, maybe 16 ounces of water, not much. I just put the 2 cinnamon sticks in, let it boil a little bit, and said that'll add a nice cinnamon flavor. And then in addition to that, I actually added cinnamon and turmeric, both. And I added, this is my coconut oil. It's so hot here in Southern California. It's not solid. It's turning into liquid. And I only used a tablespoon. And this filled up my entire blender. It says 72 ounces. So I think I had about 64 ounces of liquid in it. I forgot. I had this is 5 ounces. The whole package was 5 ounces of spinach. I used half of it. And I put it in my warm soup. So when I put my soup in the blender, and it was still warm, and I just got 2 or 3 handfuls and put it in there, and I puree it. And you could see the little chunks or whatever you call it of spinach in there. You can see it. People are if I gave that to somebody, they would say, what is this, cilantro? I don't eat cilantro. I don't like it. I have the gene. It tastes like soap. So thank you, Mother, because she didn't like cilantro either. She must have had the gene too. So that's what's in it. 6 celery sticks, 2 carrots, 2 or 3 red potatoes, the small ones, 1 medium-sized yam, half of the 5 ounces of baby spinach. This is organic. Next time I'm going to use the whole entire thing. This much or less of ginger, that much or less. It's very, very small, not a lot. 1 onion and about 24 to 32 ounces of liquid that I mix in chicken broth with it. Oh, and I did add monk fruit in the raw, about maybe 2 teaspoons. See, I don't measure. I never measure. I just experiment and say, oh, that was good. So if somebody's going to ask me, hey, I saw your video on YouTube, can you make that for me? I probably can't repeat it because I don't measure. I just know that when something is too much, I say, don't do that again. You use too much liquid. Last year, I made soup and it had beets in it and it had other things in it. And I had too much water in it. And I must have made, it was an insane amount because it was too much water, too many beets. There was no way, and I had to freeze it. It was just way too much. So now I know how to make enough, but not too much for one person. And I wanted some coconut oil in it to give it a little bit of fat, but I wanted to really stay away from the butter. I just wanted a little bit of coconut oil in it and give it a little bit of sweetness, and the monk fruit will not spike the blood sugar. And it's delicious. And the consistency is perfect too. It is pureed. So you can see that. And it does taste like ginger. I can taste the ginger in it. I cannot taste the turmeric. And I'm quite satisfied with it that I didn't put the garlic in it. But when I do, I don't put the garlic in the pan. I put it in the blender. I cut it up, mince it myself, and then I put it in the blender and just let it blend because I don't want my garlic to be cooked away. So that is my homemade soup, and I'm going to expect myself to probably lose over the next 4 days, probably 4 or 5 pounds, because I know what happens when I eat any red meat, when I eat any bread. Doesn't matter if it has gluten in it or gluten-free bread. It's refined carbohydrates. It's not green. They're not carbohydrates that are green. And I know what happens when I have dairy. Those 3 things: bread, any refined carbohydrates, dairy, and gluten. They all create an inflammatory response. Now, most people call that fat. Most people call that obese or overweight. But a problem with obesity and being overweight or fat is really a problem with inflammation in the body. And the way to get rid of it is to eat non-inflammatory foods. And the best non-inflammatory food that you can eat, vegetables. And I talked to someone about 8-9 months ago, and she said, I don't like vegetables. And I said, that's sad because they're alive. And she wanted to lose weight, but she said, I don't like vegetables. Well, there's a lot of people that don't like going to work, but guess what? Now I think they want to go to work. Now that they're home, they want their kids to be in school and they want their job back. So that is the soup. And hopefully you can make it. I usually make pureed soup. I like it. Very rarely do I make a soup that's not pureed. And I hope you treat yourself well. Make sure you do something today and it's not a wasted day. It's Sunday. A lot of people had church today. And I guess if a majority of people, unless you're working in the service industry, if you're working in the service industry, you'd probably be working on a Sunday. But for all the other people, if you're not working in the service industry, like a doctor or a nurse or retail, then you would probably have today off if we weren't in this predicament. So use your time wisely. And when you go to bed, maybe you can ask yourself, did you use your time wisely? Are you proud of yourself? I am proud of myself because I created something, and I'm going to be able to have enough soup for the next 2 days, maybe 3. And this is a live food. This is food that's going to feed, and it's going to be nourishing, and it's going to build my immune system. Remember that. Remember that.